I just wanted to share an idea that I heard from Rabbi Zechariah Wallerstein, who I miss very much. You look around at the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, of Exodus. What you find is it's also the story of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Moses, his leadership. Right? He began as a shepherd in the middle of nowhere, and the story actually turned him into the greatest leader of all time. But if you notice in the beginning of his journey as a leader, seems like a little blip. Right? Imagine as if you watch a team pick a quarterback as their number one draft pick, and they have no other quarterback, let's say. And you wait for this guy to play, and the first game he doesn't come on the field. And the second game he doesn't come on the field. And the third game he doesn't come on the field. And you ask yourself, you just spent all that money. You picked him first. Where is it? Right? God picks Moses. He could have picked Aaron. He picked Moses. He brings him down from Midian. He tells him we're going to do some plagues. We're going to rock and roll. It's going to be amazing. Moses is like, okay, let's go. And God doesn't have him do the first plague. Moses doesn't even lead the first plague, or the second, or the third. He benches him, if you will, for the first three plagues. Why? So the answer they give is, the first three plagues had to do with the Nile, because the first plague was blood, turned from the Nile, and the second plague was frogs that came from the Nile. And the third plague was lice, which is the ground. And so the Nile was where he went when his mother saved him, right? At the time where there was a decree against all the boys, he was born. His mom put him in the Nile. And so as an appreciation for the Nile, he's not going to hit or disrupt the Nile. And when he killed the Egyptian, he buried him in the sand. And so the lice comes from the sand. So these three plagues that had to do with the Nile and the sand, God had him sit this one out. And Wallerstein asked the following question. What did they do? The Nile didn't do anything. The Nile didn't raise itself up and engulf Moses into some, swirl that nobody can see him. The Nile was just the Nile. It just did what it did. The ground didn't open up so that they can put the person in. The ground was just the ground. None of these things did anything special to warrant now coming back later and having some special dispensation. They just did what they did. So why are we giving them all the special treatment for? Or Wallerstein says, because God was teaching Moses an incredible lesson. Leaders need to learn how to appreciate things that are just normal. Regular people don't appreciate your lungs when they just work the way they're supposed to work until something happens. Regular people don't walk down the street and just appreciate a regular day. Thank their parents for just being parents. Thank God for normal things that operate in its usual manner. We find appreciation in things that are supernormal, that are outside the norm. When we see something swerve out of the way and thank God, that could have been a crash, but just getting in a car and driving regular, that's regular. If something happens and then it's okay in health, we thank God. But just waking up in the morning, that's waking up in the morning. If we're somewhere and there's no food, we appreciate it, but just regular day with food, we don't. Weather, homes, people, just functioning societies. The fact that we live in a world that doesn't require us to get on a boat and travel across a river or an ocean because we're running over just regular life. Most people do not take a level of appreciation for just normal things acting normal. God is building the leader of the Jewish people, and he's teaching him. Yeah, the Nile just did the Nile stuff. All it did was what Niles do, just water. But guess what? Because water is water, You floated in that thing when they were looking for you, and you survived. So you're going to start the plagues? Nah, first 2 plagues that do with water, don't touch them. And the ground, yeah, the ground just was there. But you know what? Because of the way sand is, you can maneuver it. And so when you killed that Egyptian who deserved to die, you were able to bury him in the sand. Normal stuff. Just did what it's supposed to do. And you know what? Give thanks for that. We sit around the Seder, we talk about the plagues. Let's not forget the lesson of Moses, Moshe, and those plagues. I bet you there's someone around that table that could use a little bit of appreciation for just what they do. I bet you there's a lot of things we can look up to and say, you know what, God, there's 10, 20, 100 things that were just normal today that I'll never forget. You know, I remember when I was a kid, I was complaining to my grandmother, my Holocaust surviving grandmother, on a Saturday night that I had nothing to do, just boring. She said, when I was your age, I would have given everything in the world to have one boring Saturday night. Sometimes normal is really incredible.